Well, good morning, everybody. This is Keith with Positively Osceola, another episode of our coffee club discussion. And what does it say? Wake up and smell the coffee? That's a given, man. Again, that is not a prop. That is a real resource that we utilize often. So very cool today. We have some very special guests with us this morning. How you guys both doing?
Doing great.
Let me give you the formal introduction as people start to pop on here on this beautiful Osceola County located Friday morning. So to the center, we have Dr. Debra Pace, the superintendent of the school district of Osceola County. How are you doing?
Great. Hi, everybody.
It's a double hello. And then, of course, on the other side of the spectrum over there, Charles B. Draper of Draper Law Office. How you doing, sir?
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to this session.
So, on any day, you guys are always welcome to hang out and have coffee with me online. And our schedules, of course, would not permit such activities, but we're here with a purpose today. And really just to give kind of a disclaimer-esque thing, just wanted to give you, Dr. Pace, another opportunity. I know you went online earlier in the week, and by the nature of the world we all live in, not everybody can participate in things they want to at the time. So I just wanted to give you another few moments. It won't be super long today, but just give you a chance to kind of explain how the school is going to be reopening in the fall, and some of the plans you have out there. Again, a lot of people have already are aware that if you have a student in the district, you're probably fully aware of the options that they have. And so that's a really good thing. Want to give you an opportunity to do that. I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Draper. But just kind of a disclaimer, we really haven't had a chance, any three of us, to speak much before this. I mean, both Charlie and I are aware of what the school district's doing, like most people are, as far as this coming fall. And I think, if you listen to this later and not live, I would just ask those people to consider that this is a moving target, as we were saying a few minutes ago. And, it's challenging for any leader and any group of leaders to figure out how to plan for things when things change on a daily or hourly basis. So that's how I look at things. I know that both you guys have been leaders of the community for a long time, and so I know you get that, but that's part of leadership. And so Charlie, I'll turn it over to you, sir, and just kick it off.
Okay, well, thank you again for having me. And Dr. Pace, I've got a couple questions for you. The initial one is a two-part question. I saw your clips, a little bit of your webcast earlier in the day. Didn't catch it all, but I'm sure there's been a lot of discussion around the cooler since then. And so if you would just kind of explain the three options that you mentioned the other day, and also where parents can find the options on the website.
Sure, Charlie. Thank you so much. And thank you, Keith and Charlie, for giving us this opportunity to again try to provide information, some clarity out there to answer people's questions. We will have another dedicated Facebook Live this next Wednesday, specifically to address staff concerns. But we know there are a lot of parents out there with questions, staff members with questions. And this is, as Keith mentioned, a moving target. I'm in daily discussion with our Department of Health, looking at the local data, and things are evolving all the time. But for right now, we knew we had to have a plan, because failing to plan is planning to fail. And we can't do that for our students or our staff members. So on August the 10th, the first day of school, we will be providing at this time 3 specific options. Number 1, your traditional face-to-face option, but with the safety protocols that are outlined on our website at www.osceolaschools.net. Start Smart. A lot of information there, both videos, presentations, an FAQ that all of the questions that we've been getting over these last couple of weeks have been posted with answers as much as we possibly can to try to make sure that we are communicating to folks. So we encourage you to go there. There's also an option on our website at the Let's Talk area that allows you to address more specific questions, and we'll continue to respond to those as best we can throughout the week. But the second option is something that parents really wanted. They wanted to stay connected to their schools, but at the same time be able to have digital learning at home until perhaps we get a vaccine, or at least cases start to trend down in our community. We know right now the positivity rate is a significant concern for all of us coming back. And we know that many of our students live with grandparents or even parents who may have health conditions. And some of our students are vulnerable themselves. I have to remind everybody, though, that the digital learning option that we're providing for August the 10th is not the digital learning option that we provided in the spring. That was what we called digital learning light, where students and staff members were really only expected to engage in the curriculum for about 3 hours, submitting tasks, but maybe not in every course, every credit, every day. And we just can't continue to do that. We had significant learning loss in the spring, particularly for some of our students who needed it most. Even our middle and high school students who potentially could be at home on their own without moms and dads or grandmas to take care of them throughout the day. That's where we really struggled with some of the consistent engagement in the curriculum. We know that middle school and high school students really depend on that socialization to keep them motivated and keep them engaged in what we're doing. And then finally, we're offering what we've always offered, a full-time K-12 Osceola virtual school option. The difference between Osceola Virtual School and our digital learning option is that the digital learning instruction will follow the district curriculum unit plans. Those teachers will be working with their peers in the same content areas or the same grade levels, so that the students are getting consistent assignments, whether they're in class with the teacher or they're at home doing digital learning. Digital learning students will also be expected to engage in the curriculum for the full school day. The only difference is that instead of school providing breakfast and lunch and school taking care of managing things like recess, that'll be up to folks at home to help make sure that those breaks are built in. Osceola Virtual School does allow students to work more independently. It's self-paced, requires a lot of self-motivation, requires a lot of strong literacy skills because it is very text dependent. It does follow the Florida curriculum. Same state assessments are required for all three options. But the one that's most self-paced is Osceola Virtual School. If you want that digital opportunity at home and parents and students are able to have that support at home to engage fully in the curriculum throughout the day, then that would be the choice for you. Otherwise, we're looking forward to seeing you on August the 10th and with those specific safety protocols that we've outlined online that are important to keep both our students and our staff members safe as we move into a new school year.
And I gather that the parents have until, or the parents and students collectively have until July 15th to make a decision as to which of the three options that they're going to pursue. Is that right?
Yes, we're asking parents to go online and show us what their choices are by July the 15th so that our principals and assistant principals and guidance counselors can spend the next 2 weeks of July changing master schedules, looking at teacher assignments, and really planning for implementation of this plan. A plan is great in development, but then we have to implement it. And it's taking a tremendous amount of flexibility and agility on the staff at the school district, but we're committed to honoring people's choices. As of last night, about 30% of our parents and students had responded. We're still in that 59 to 60% range for wanting to come back face-to-face. One concern that I have is we had about 800 people indicating they were going to do Osceola Virtual School, but enrollment in Osceola Virtual School is at less than 300. So if people are thinking they want to do Osceola Virtual School, it's super important that they contact our OVS office this next week when when our offices reopen on Monday.
Interesting. So I'm assuming that, well, I don't want to misspeak on this. So so obviously there's a gap of individuals that have not communicated, or they're communicating that they're going to go option 3, but haven't followed the path that they needed on that. Yeah, I think if this is happening, obviously, when it always happens, right, as far as getting ready for the school year in the summer. And I think people are still taking advantage somehow in here that it's summer and they're putting it off to the last minute. But I know you need the help for people to commit and then make those and follow through on that commitment, right?
That's just super, super important because it makes a big difference in how we staff our schools and what we're going to be asking our teachers, our paraprofessionals, our bus drivers to do every day. Even our school nutrition services team has to know how much food to buy, and that takes about 2 weeks notice. So, it's really kind of ironic because we always start planning for a new school year in December. And we had plans to be way ahead of schedule this year. But COVID has changed everything for all of us.
Right.
It's changing the way we live our lives every day. It changes the way we operate on the weekends. And it's certainly having to change the way we do school, just like it's changed the way you and Mr. Draper are doing work.
Sure.
So, but any information that we can get ahead of time from our parents and families is super important so that we can plan appropriately.
So I'm going to be quiet, Charlie, and let you go. I just want to point out one and let you ask more questions. So Alexis Williams just asked, can we talk about moving back and forth between option 1 and 2? So if I said, look, I want my daughter to be, and we want to have her back face to face in option 1, and then as we go through that, I'm assuming that's what Alexis is saying. I decide I want to maybe move towards option 2. How does that all work together?
That's a great question, Alexis. So thank you so much for asking. You can't transition easily between option 3, the full-time Osceola virtual school, and option 1. That can only be done at semester breaks. However, with our digital learning, the way we've planned it, because those teachers and students will be engaging with the same district curriculum that our face-to-face students will be, we have a little bit more flexibility. We are asking for parents to give us about a week's notice. It takes that long to adjust staffing. It takes that long to adjust bus routes. It takes that long to adjust cafeteria protocols, all of that. But with a week's notice, parents can either start in digital because they don't feel comfortable with where we are as a community right now with COVID, and transition to face-to-face when it gets a little bit better. They can start with face-to-face, and then if somebody in the family gets ill or grandma gets ill or whatever, they can transition to digital. We will need a couple of days notice, but our teachers are used to helping kids catch up. It's just so important that we get back to regular learning. We know that our students have had a learning loss, and we don't want to lose a year of learning for anybody.
Right.
So one of the first things that we'll be doing in options 1 and 2 is an NWEA baseline assessment for reading, math, and science, so that we know where we need to plug in more resources to help kids catch up.
Gotcha. Charlie?
Dr. Pace, like any other structure, the learning model for younger students requires a strong foundation. And yet, at the same time, it seems that the young elementary students are probably the hardest to control. How is the school prepared to handle, or I should say, how are the teachers prepared to handle the elementary students, particularly the kindergarten, first, second, third graders who are like herding cats, so to speak, difficult to control? What is expected of the teachers?
We're going to provide some additional professional development, just like we did back in March when we had to make that switch to kind of help them with that. But I'm going to be honest, one of the things that keeps me up at night is the fact that when we transitioned to digital learning in March, teachers and students already knew each other. They knew each other's strengths, they knew each other's personalities, that relationship was already there. I do worry it's going to be much harder for our teachers and students to build that relationship right out of the gate and learn the protocols for how we all work together, whether it's online through Teams or whether it's face-to-face instruction. There's always that adjustment. One of the things that we're planning to do is with our VPK, our kindergarten and our first grade students, for those who are coming in face-to-face, we're going to do a staggered start. I've always been opposed to that because I know it's hard for families who count on us for childcare so that they can go to work. But we want to bring our kids in groups of 6 or 8, those first 3 days of school, August 10th, 11th, and 12th, our littlest learners, for whom this is a really new experience, so that we can teach them the important protocols for that wearing of a mask and what 6 feet apart really feels like and looks like when we're walking down the hallway or going to the cafeteria. For our middle and high school students and teachers, we're going to be doing some additional mental and social emotional health training in pre-planning for everybody, because we know that this has been incredibly stressful through this whole period and it continues to be stressful. So we want to make sure that teachers are trained to identify when kids are having problems and not necessarily solve those problems. We don't expect them to all of a sudden become psychologists or counselors, but we do want them to have the skills and know where the resources are to direct kids to mental health support if they need it. So those are some things that we're all going to be adjusting to over these next couple of weeks and planning for. before teachers return on August the 3rd. We are doing an optional training day on July the 30th for all employees, specifically dedicated to things like the new safety protocols and cleaning protocols that we put into place, but also to allow them to kind of experience and talk about what this transition is going to be for those who are going to provide digital instruction and those who will be providing the face-to-face with new rules and regulations in place to follow.
Can you give us kind of a bird's eye view looking down on a classroom as far as, you know, the seating arrangements, you know, as far as student desks, how close they are together, the size of the classrooms, the size of the students, and give us kind of an idea of what we can expect.
You know, that's been a big question, and I'm glad you asked, Charlie, because people have been like, well, why are you saying 4 feet apart or 3 to 4 feet apart for desks as opposed to 6 feet apart, which is the CDC guideline? Number one, we just don't have more classroom space. We use every nook and cranny that we have already to meet the needs of our students and have those important student stations for teachers and students to work in and learn in. But we have already tested, you know, a couple of my staff members and I did a field trip one day, and we went to elementary schools, to middle schools, to high schools. We looked at regular classrooms and we moved desks and chairs around until we could get the 4-foot spacing that our infectious disease specialist from Nemours recommended. Remember that I read even in just last night, another article that I found from Benjamin Linus, another infectious disease specialist from Boston, who talked about the fact that young people, particularly kids under 10, don't have the same lung capacity as adults. Mm-hmm. So even if they cough, it's not going as far, and the spread is not necessarily as large as it is for adults. So, and what we've done is to recommend that they're staggered. So they're kind of like at a diagonal from each other. So they're 4 feet apart, not only side by side, but also front and back. And we're going to have some diagrams for our teachers to help arrange those types of things. Same thing with the cafeteria. Everybody faces forward, spacing apart, have stickers where kids sit and where they don't sit. And those are the types of things that we're doing throughout the campus. We even checked art rooms and science labs to see how we could change the way tables and chairs are arranged in those spaces to provide for kids to not be face-to-face and too close together in that learning environment. You know, certainly it's not perfect. Just like we can't sit kids every other seat on the bus, that's just not physically possible. But we're doing the best that we can. And that's the other reason, though, that facial coverings are just going to be so important. One of the other questions, if I may, that's come in is what kind of facial coverings can kids wear, can staff members wear? You know, we're going to provide 5 for everyone. They're a common color black with the school district logo, but they're not required. Students can wear some that express their own personalities, different colors. I know that I've already talked to one high school booster program that's getting facial coverings made so that they can make a little money and also show school spirit at that particular high school. I think we'll see that elsewhere. The most important thing to remember is that we do have school board policy that prevents us from wearing things that are distracting, that would make inappropriate comments or use profane language or even make political statements. That's also part of a school board rule. So that's going to be important for everybody to remember.
You know what, Charlie, can I insert real quick? So what hits me is we're getting a lot of comments right now for sure, and we will get a lot of comments once this is non-live. And so we'll do our best to follow up with all the questions. But what hits me is the gigantic word communication, for sure. So, you know, I think Dr. Pace, you know, you're going to be in a position where somehow you're going to have, I mean, I say this respectfully, you're going to be in a position where that's going to be a challenge as you're trying to prep for the start. How much interaction, how much communication can you have with the parents as things are coming through? I mean, it would be great if it was one and done, put out the info, and then you just hit the ground running. Aside from a changing playing field here, I think emotion plays into this, processing plays into this. If I'm a parent, I'm going to change how I think as time goes on closer to the startup. So how are you going to be able to maintain good quality communication, answering questions from the parents, answering questions from teachers, from staff? I mean, you're the largest employer in the county. So how are you going to maintain quality communication with your employees, the teachers, the staff, and then the teachers and the kids? So how do you do that? I mean, we're certainly anything we can do, we want to do for you guys, but that's got to be a huge challenge for you.
Well, I think we have to take advantage of every avenue of communication that we have. So again, I want to thank you and thank Charlie this morning for giving us this window to the world, because you have viewers that may not have been looking at the district website or may not have been looking at the media. And sometimes it can be, miscommunicated or misunderstood, particularly when we're coming at it with emotion. There's so much fear out there, and we certainly understand that. But I would suggest again that people look to our website first, www.osceolaschools.net. Everything that we've talked about is there. We've recorded videos. We've recorded our Facebook Live. We'll continue to do that. Our FAQ continues to be updated on a regular basis based on common questions that come in. We're responding to Let's Talk. We're responding to emails. We're responding to phone calls as quickly as we can with the staff that we have. But we'll continue to do that, and I'll continue to make myself available. I've met with Osceola County Educators Association new president, Mr. Allen, last week on Wednesday morning, so that he can also help us through his communication channels. And we're just really relying on everybody to kind of try to take some emotion out of it right now. And let's put our rational thought on. And as you go through this, if things change, we'll continue to communicate with you. The night after the board meeting, when our board approved our plan on June 30th, we immediately launched communication through Remind, through our dial out, through our website, through our social media. We are continuing to do that. And as you get comments and feedback from your viewers, happy to continue to follow up with you. And if we can make changes, try a different channel, we are open and willing to do that. We know that communication is critical.
Yep, I know. Charlie?
I just have a couple more questions. One, I think just so the listener can really appreciate the challenges that you and the school board face, can you just share with us the student population in Osceola County, the teacher population in Osceola County, and the staff population in Osceola County, that you're accountable to all three segments?
Yeah, we are projected to serve 70,000 students in our districts and charter schools. We have over 8,000 employees. A little over half of those are teachers. But it's every employee that matters in the work that we do. Certainly, they've just been super responsive in the spring, and I know that they're going to do their best to come back and be adaptable, be flexible, be strong this fall. But what we do makes a huge difference in the economic recovery of our community. But we're certainly not going to put that above safety. But at the same time, we have policies and procedures and an executive order that we have to respond to. But we're going to do everything that we can. And from the very beginning, our task force was tasked with two things. Number one, we want to get kids back to learning, because we know that's critically important for their development, for their socialization, for their nutrition, for their physical safety, as well as their mental and emotional well-being. But we also know that we have to put safety protocols in place that can keep the kids safe, and more importantly, the adults safe. The research continues to show that kids are less likely to spread it. They're less likely to be seriously sick from the disease, other than those who have other health conditions that we want to come up with. But we know that our staff is vulnerable, and that's something that we have to keep as a priority. And it is a priority for the board, it's a priority for me, and it's been a priority for our task force as we move forward.
So if there are 70,000 students in Osceola County, there are arguably 140,000 parents. And trying to appease or satisfy the interests of those parents, those teachers, the school board members, the staff, is just a Herculean task, and I want to commend you. And my final question, that's more of a statement than a question, but my final question to you is, what can we as parents, citizens, community leaders do to help you and the school board in these challenging times?
please, please, please wear your masks. That's a critical piece. If we can all do our part as independent citizens in the community to wear our facial coverings, wash our hands, avoid crowds, that in itself is the way we're going to contain this spread throughout our community. That is decimating not just our people, it's filling our hospitals. It's really starting to take a toll on our economy, which we know impacts our families who are worried about whether or not they're going to be able to make rent this month or make the car payment or let alone an insurance payment or a medical bill. So that's the most important thing I think that we all can do is take our own personal responsibility to try to follow the guidelines from our Department of Health and be safe and keep others safe. But also, if I could just ask folks to take a moment, look at the information that we're providing, send us your questions. We're happy to answer them, and then help you make the best decision for your family. And we're going to do everything in our power to try to respond to that, meet the needs that we have. Our primary responsibility is to have kids teaching and learning, but we know we have to do it safely, and we want to do what your family needs.
I want to kick one in real quick. I know we are just about out of time. I want to make a commitment to everybody who has posted a question that we will address these questions. Throughout the day, we'll try to make sure as we get off to the office and go normal day, we're going to try to address those things, and anything we can't answer, we'll certainly reach out to Dr. Pace and your staff. A couple people asked, these are maybe short answers. So two things. One is how are you going to be they want us to mention paraprofessionals, which I think you kind of did talking about staff, and also the open houses. And then I won't ask any more questions.
One of the things you asked about communication is this would be a whole lot easier if I could bring people together in large town halls and talk to them, because I think sometimes that face-to-face is so much more effective, but that's just not possible. Same thing with open house. We're looking at virtual open houses. So our principals are doing a kind of a tour orientation, what their schools look like. We're going to work with our teachers to do some of that during pre-planning as well, because again, we know those relationships are super, super important. And our open houses typically have thousands of people. And we're trying to keep those group sizes in tight quarters down to no more than 50, just like the CDC and our Department of Health has advised. And regarding paraprofessionals, we'll be working with them just like we'll be working with our teachers. Some of them will be needing to meet the needs of our kids in face-to-face instruction, just like they always have. And some will be needing to support learning digitally. We'll make sure that they have the tools to do that.
Well said. Charlie, anything before we close?
One final question. What was the date and time of your next presentation, Dr. Pace?
Next Wednesday at noon, we'll do another Facebook Live for 1 hour, 12 to 1, but this is going to be specifically dedicated to questions that we're getting from our staff members, because we know that we need to address those. We'll continue to be updating the website on a daily basis, not through the weekend, of course. Even my staff gets a little bit of a break. But come Monday morning, we'll be back at it again, and we're happy to do Let's Talk. And if we need to do another coffee chat, I don't drink coffee. I have my Diet Pepsi here in my Auburn cup, but would love to have that opportunity to continue to reach out to viewers and take advantage of every communication channel that we have.
Sure. Charlie, anything left?
No, just thank you for the opportunity to make this presentation, Dr. Pace and Keith, and wish you health and safety.
Back right at you. So in closing, I'll just say we are going to, we've been talking about, and this is real quick, we're going to be offering or creating kind of a discussion about how businesses and organizations and individuals are trying to conform and abide by those CDC guidelines. Just kind of a discussion about how are we doing as a community? Are we trying to get that number back down again? Are we all going by these guidelines, or are we just kind of hoping somebody else does? So we're gonna work on having that discussion, because I think what you were saying, Dr. Pace, was correct. Everything we do outside of the schools affects the schools, correct?
Absolutely. The biggest key for us to reopen safely is what we're all doing in the community each and every day to help reduce the spread.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of time to affect positively that the spread. So we're going to try to do our part to help. Again, thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Dr. Pace. You guys, we have the utmost respect. I know Charlie does for sure, as he said. We have the utmost respect for what you do. tough gig you have, but I know you guys are up for it. Certainly respect the school board as well. But I know you're working hard at it. We're offering up to you any opportunities that you have. I know you're all busy that you want to speak. We'd love to have you. We'll work with your staff on that. So again, to the community, I hope we can all work together, be patient, communicate with the district as opposed to just communicating with social media. I mean, we love social media. I hope that people direct their questions to the source, which is the school district of Osceola County. Both parents and teachers, I hope, and paraprofessionals, I hope we're all able to communicate. I think that's the solution in there. By communicating, I think we get to the right place at the end. So again, thank you to Charlie and Dr. Pace for being a part of this morning. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Great. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola, along with the School District of Osceola County's Superintendent, Dr. Debra Pace, and Charlie Draper with Draper Law Office. Together, we're making a positive difference in and around Osceola County. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.